The beginning of this strange story took place when, in the middle of the desolate Atlantic Ocean, a British merchant ship was passing by. The captain's attention went to a ship standing far away, which was neither moving forward nor responding to their signals. Upon getting closer, it was discovered that this ship stood alone in the deserted sea, floating only with the help of the waves. The astonishing thing was that inside the ship, the crew's belongings, food, water, and cargo were all perfectly safe and intact. But what was missing was the crew itself, who had disappeared from there without leaving a single trace. This is the tale of the Mary Celeste, a story that has puzzled historians for the past 150 years, a secret known only to the ocean itself. Welcome once again, viewers, to another video. This ship was originally named Amazon. In many of its early journeys, it met with minor accidents. That's why it had become quite famous for being a ship surrounded by mishaps. However, until then, it had never faced any major accident. After changing ownership several times, it finally came into the possession of Captain Benjamin Briggs, who renamed it Mary Celeste. It was anchored on the coast of New York on November 7th, where cargo was being loaded onto it. Mary Celeste was loaded with 1,700 barrels of ethanol, which was not drinking alcohol, but industrial-grade alcohol. All these barrels were to be transported from New York to the Italian city of Genoa via the Atlantic Ocean. A total of 10 people were on board the ship, including Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter, along with 7 crew members. Before the journey began, there was no problem with the ship, and it set sail smoothly without any obstacles. This journey was approximately 7,500 kilometers long, and in those days, such a long voyage would take not just days, but several weeks. Remember, there was no GPS or advanced communication devices at that time. 3 weeks had passed since Mary Celeste left New York, and according to schedule, her arrival at the port of Genoa was now eagerly awaited. But even after so much time had passed, there was no trace of Mary Celeste, even the ships that had left New York after her had already started arriving in Genoa. Now the concern was growing. Why had Mary Celeste still not reached her destination? After so many weeks? 10 days after Mary Celeste's departure, another British ship also set sail from New York along the same route toward Gibraltar. This was the Dei Gratia ship, which, after several weeks, on December 4th, 1872, spotted a ship standing still on the water. The captain noticed that the ship wasn't moving forward, but was motionless in one spot. Seeing such a scene in this part of the ocean made the captain suspicious, and he sent several signals from afar. When no reply came from the other side, the captain decided to move closer. Upon reaching near, it was found that this was none other than his friend's ship, the Mary Celeste, which had now been missing for a full month since leaving New York. Mary Celeste was found standing all alone, about 1,800 kilometers from Gibraltar, in the Atlantic Ocean. There was no sign of any movement on it. The captain of Dei Gratia sent his crew members aboard the Mary Celeste, where they were shocked to find that not a single person was present. A month earlier, the ship had set sail from New York with 10 people. Where had they all vanished in the middle of the ocean? That was the question now haunting the captain of Dei Gratia as well. At first, he thought perhaps an accident had occurred on the ship, but upon inspection, the entire ship was found to be perfectly intact. All the belongings of the captain and his family, and even the crew members' clothes, were untouched and in perfect order. Not only that, but the goods they were transporting to Genoa were also completely safe. Even the food stock for the crew was still there. Just as it had been left, after further investigation, a logbook was found from the captain's room. This logbook was something ship captains used to maintain. It contained records of maintenance and issues related to the ship. In that logbook, Captain Briggs of the Mary Celeste had made his last entry on November 25th at 8 a.m., 10 days before. The day the ship was found in that condition, that meant the ship had been drifting deserted in the Atlantic Ocean for about 10 days. The captain of Dei Gratia was observing all this, but couldn't make sense of it. Then his eyes fell on the lifeboat section, and there he noticed the lifeboat was missing. That could mean only one thing. Something must have happened on the ship, and everyone had escaped in the lifeboat to save their lives. The navigation instruments in the captain's cabin were also missing, and under his bed, a sword was found, still inside its sheath, which was proof that there had been no attack on the ship. Otherwise, the sword would have been unsheathed or missing altogether. Apart from the logbook, all other documents were also found in their proper place. Another thing noted was that the ship's cabins were wet everywhere, and in some areas there was about 1 to 2 feet of standing water, but it wasn't enough to damage a ship of that size. Here, it's worth mentioning that according to international salvage law, if anyone rescues a ship, they are rewarded based on the ship's value. Taking advantage of this law, the captain of Dei Gratia towed Mary Celeste all the way to Gibraltar, where the authorities kept the ship until court hearings were completed. The court conducted its own investigations, but even after several hearings, no clue could be found. When the court also failed to solve the mystery, people began making all sorts of theories. Some said celestial beings had taken away the crew of Mary Celeste, while others claimed that some sea monster had attacked them. Among all these fabricated tales, one thing was true. Since the day Mary Celeste was built, strange accidents had surrounded her. Once she collided with another ship, and though it was a minor collision, that other ship sank. Later, when Mary Celeste was brought to port for repairs, before the repairs could even begin, it mysteriously caught fire on its own. Then, just before one of its later voyages, its captain suddenly fell ill and died. Because of all these events, people started believing that perhaps Mary Celeste was possessed by spirits or cursed souls, and that this was what caused the latest tragedy. From then on, Mary Celeste came to be known as the ghost ship. But what really happened that day? There are some theories about it, and we'll look at them one by one. The first theory is about betrayal. Many believe that the captain of Dei Gratia murdered the crew of Mary. Celeste claimed the salvage. Reward under maritime law. But if that were true, there would have been some signs of bloodshed or violence on the ship. Now, either the captain of Dei Gratia had erased all evidence perfectly, or this theory was simply wrong. The second theory is very interesting. It suggests that there were 1,700 barrels of alcohol on the ship, but when authorities examined it, 9 of those barrels were found empty. It's possible that some of the barrels leaked or exploded, causing the crew to flee in the lifeboat out of fear. However, in the area where the barrels were stored, there were no signs of fire or explosion. The third theory suggests that perhaps the ship got caught in a storm, and water began to flood inside. Seeing this, the captain decided to evacuate the ship, and everyone escaped in the small lifeboat. But such a small lifeboat couldn't survive the fury of the ocean, and all their lives were lost. This theory seemed quite plausible, but even it remained just a theory. There were many theories, but not a single one could be proven with evidence. Even after more than 150 years, this mystery has never been solved. What exactly happened to Mary Celeste? Under what circumstances did Captain Briggs decide to abandon the ship? And where did they all disappear? That secret, perhaps, went away forever with Captain Benjamin Briggs. We hope you enjoyed this video and will like and share it abundantly. Thank you so much for your kind comments. See you again in the next fascinating video.